Hello again to this video clip series I'm calling My Journey to God in a Very Secularized World. This should be video clip 44. Continuing with this topic of Pope Francis accusing the good priest of being rigid. And so I'd like to we must distinguish between two fundamental types of rigidity to understand better what's going on here. One is rigidity regarding our own personal whims, opinions, and egoism. This is certainly not a good rigidity. It is an egotistical, prideful rigidity. The other rigidity regards God's holy laws, God's holy will, and of all of divine revelation. This is good rigidity, a holy rigidity of not compromising with God's laws and with God's holy will. How many saints gave their lives, both in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, so as not to compromise with the truth of God or to resign themselves to the orders of a dictator or to human respect or to the great pressures to be politically correct, which is highly promoted by the Freemasons. You must be politically correct, and they establish what it means to be politically correct. This is very strong pressure. They've worked hard on this. And then while maintaining, I continue that the saints who did not cave in to human respect or to the great pressure of political correct, while maintaining true humility and love for their persecutors rather than resentment or revenge. The saints were rigid for the truth of God, even to shedding their blood, so as not to compromise with beautiful, easier lies. Pope Francis seems to deliberately not distinguish between these two types of rigidity so as to criticize and condemn holy rigidity. You know, Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. 2 Corinthians 11:14. Because half-truths, like there's being offered now in the church, half-truths are worse than lies. You know, Mother Angelica on Ep44 said, half-truths are a deceitful way to get you to buy the lie. She said that on November 19, 1996. Unfortunately, most people prepared by the mass media, the schools, and most religious institutions want an easy Christianity without the cross of Christ. These false Christians are happy with Pope Francis and do as Pope Francis and they do as he does, and do not distinguish between these two types of rigidity. Thus, using the powerful mainstream media, holy rigidity is more and more seen as a bad behavior to be condemned and eradicated. Behold the strategy of those who want to eliminate the truth, which truly sets us free. John 8:32. To prepare for the Antichrist. In a sly way, Pope Francis wants to ridicule those who do not change with the world. But as we know, the Prince of Peace is Satan. And you can even find some articles, interesting, an article or YouTube that says Pope Francis rebukes Ep44 as work of the devil, because some of the priests had the courage to speak the truth. Many Catholics today are happy with this way of interpreting the truth of God because it is easier, and they are already used to changing the truth and the Ten Commandments any way they like, and then convincing themselves that they are good Catholics and automatically going to heaven. Or at least they believe the lie that the devil, hell, and sin no longer exist. Most Catholics today are happy to listen to and to do as Pope Francis and to condemn those who faithfully live the gospel and the Ten Commandments, according to the Catechism of the Catholic Church, that great gift that John Paul II left us. Did God give us the Ten Commandments for our good or for our harm? But if we say for our good, then why do we want to change the Ten Commandments according to the world and the highly controlled mainstream media? Do we trust God or do we trust ourselves? Is God stupid and we in the modern world, in the modern church, very intelligent? You know, Our Lady to Don't Step to Gobi tells us that the great apostasy, 2 Thessalonians 2:3, began with the priests. She says like this, she says, these priest sons of mine who have betrayed the gospel in order to second the great satanic era of Marxism. It is especially because of them that the chastisement of communism will soon come and will deprive everyone of all they possess. Times of great tribulation will unfold. Then it will be these poor sons of mine who will begin the great apostasy. Watch and pray, all of you, priests who are faithful to me. She said this on July 28, 1973. And Our Lady to Gobi also tells us, she says, and so ecclesiastical masonry works to obscure the divine word by means of natural and rational interpretations, and in the attempt to make it more understandable and acceptable, empties it of all of its supernatural content. Jesus is the way which leads to the Father by means of the gospel. Ecclesiastical masonry favors those forms of exegesis of the gospel and so on, which give it a rationalistic and natural interpretation by means of the application of the various literary genres in such a way that it becomes torn to pieces in all of its parts. In the end, one arrives at denying the historical reality of miracles and of the resurrection and places in doubt the very divinity of Jesus and his salvific mission. That was a message of June 13th, 1989. In fact, if you want to read more, go to the messages in the book of 1989, June. Read all those messages. She explains more in detail how the Freemasonry works to destroy the church. She says on other message, she says, by your word which will repeat ever more loudly and clearly the truth which my son Jesus has come to reveal to you. Do you see how many of your brother priests betray this truth in an attempt to adapt it to the mentality of the world? I'm repeating this from the last one because it's so important. Impelled by a false illusion of being better understood, listened to by more people, and more easily followed. No illusion is more dangerous than this. She says, you, my beloved priests, must today be the gospel alone, lived out and preached to the letter, against the errors which are being spread about and against the great betrayal being perpetuated by so many of my sons who have torn to pieces the gospel of Jesus by means of human, rationalistic, and natural interpretations. Thus, by means of you, the light of the faith shines forth once again, and in you I am glorified. This is a message of February 2, 1988. Another message here. Great is my sorrow in seeing my son Jesus again despised and scourged in his word, rejected because of pride and lacerated through human and rationalistic interpretations. September 15, 1989. She says, this design of mine has been revealed to you in every detail. It must now appear to the church and to humanity in all its splendor, because these are the times of your maturity and of your public witness. She's calling the priests to come out and don't be afraid. Show yourselves to all as my consecrated ones, as the apostles of these last times. As apostles of the last times, you must announce with courage all the truths of the Catholic faith, proclaim the gospel with force, and resolutely unmask the dangerous heresies which disguise themselves with truth in order to better deceive minds, and thus lead astray from the true faith a great number of my children. As apostles of the last times, you must withstand with the strength of little ones the proud force of the great and the learned, who seduced by a false science and by vainglory, have torn to pieces the gospel of Jesus by propounding an interpretation of it with its rationalistic, humanistic, entirely erroneous. The times foretold by St. Paul have come, times when many announce false and strange doctrines, and thus they go running after these fables and stray away from the truth of the gospel. This is a message of June 8th, 1991. I'll finish this video clip here. May God bless you and Mary guide you.